The pressure is on for U.S. trading partners around the world. The Trump administration is warning of higher tariffs if trade deals are not finalized by a Wednesday deadline. They're sending dozens of letters to countries that have yet to seal the deal to get the job done. If not, higher rates will kick in on August 1st. Here's the president talking about that yesterday on his way back to Washington.
Mr. President, do the tariff rates change at all on July 9th, or do they change on August 1st?
What are you talking about?
Tariff rates, do they change on July 9th or August 1st?
No, they're going to be tariffs. The tariffs are going to be the tariffs. I think we'll have most countries done by July 9th, yeah. Either a letter or a deal.
But they go into effect on August 1st. Tariffs go into effect August 1st, but the president is setting the rates and the deals right now.
Okay, let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi for us. Olivia, happy Monday to you. What happens if countries do not secure a deal by this Wednesday deadline?
Yeah, happy Monday, Mugo. The White House says that these countries do not secure a deal by Wednesday, then there is going to be a higher tariff rate on them come August 1st. If you remember, just taking a step back here, April 2nd, that was Liberation Day. That was when these reciprocal tariffs were going into effect first that the White House had set on them. Then they had made a 90-day pause from Liberation Day. That pause is set to expire on Wednesday, July 9th. They were hoping that in between that time there would be 90 deals in 90 days. That's from Peter Navarro, White House economic advisor. That didn't happen. They got 2 deals, and it was with the United Kingdom and Vietnam. And still, the details on that Vietnam deal are very sparse at the moment. There's also conversations with China ongoing as well. But as a result, there hasn't been this plethora of deals that they expected. So therefore, we know the White House today is going to be sending letters, they say, to several countries, about a dozen, maybe more. And that will inform them what their tariff rate will be to do business with the United States. They're hoping that those letters that are going to be sent will spark some sort of movement from these countries, whether it be the EU, India, Japan, all these countries they've been in negotiations with but have been on the verge of making a deal but still working out some of those kinks, that this will push them ultimately to the brink to make those deals solid, come back to the table and announce them soon. If that doesn't happen, though, it seems that there will be more tariffs placed on them by August 1st. So as you imagine, the goalpost here really just keeps shifting.
Yep. It certainly does, Olivia. Let's switch to a different topic here, because Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington and he's set to meet with President Trump tonight. What can we expect from that meeting?
Well, there's a lot on the plate, certainly, for these two leaders to talk about. Not only is there the war in Gaza ongoing, but also the strikes in Iran, which were just 2 weeks ago when the U.S. joined Israel in bombing some nuclear sites in Iran. There's also conversations about the Abraham Accords. We know that the president, these are the accords from his first administration back in 2017, trying to normalize relations between some Arab countries and Israel. The president would still like to see some of that accomplished, but really top of mind today, what's most important is a ceasefire deal that the president is hoping to make between Israel and Hamas. There are still about 20 or so hostages in Gaza that the White House is hoping to get back by creating some type of ceasefire deal. We know that there are ongoing negotiations happening right now in Israel in Qatar between Israel and Hamas through mediators. And this is also the 3rd visit by Prime Minister Netanyahu to this White House, which shows you just really how important Israel is when it comes to U.S. foreign relations and the conversations that are happening and how important to the Middle East they are as well. So there's a lot on the plate for these leaders to discuss for this 3rd meeting of Netanyahu at the White House. Mugo?
We'll see what we learn from that meeting later tonight. Olivia Rinaldi, thank you so much for your reporting. Appreciate your time.